Hi, how are you? My name's Sheva. I'm with Coldwell Banker Commercial. I'm a commercial real estate agent here in Long Beach, and we do leasing and sales for retail and office buildings throughout Southern California. And I wanted to come today and speak to you about a commonly asked question that we get from tenants and sometimes from landlords on what's the differences between a full service gross lease, a triple net lease, and a modified gross lease. And so if you're looking to open a business and you're a renter, it's important to know the differences because this is the different type of leases that are available to you, and there are costs associated with each one. So let's get started with a full service gross lease. A full service gross lease is more common in an office space, but what that means is that all your costs are bundled into one. It's full service. So the base rent that you would be paying on a per square foot basis, on a monthly basis, is going to include all your costs as it relates to utilities and any other operating expenses for the building. So you just pay one fee one time a month to the landlord that covers all those expenses. Then there is something that's called a triple net lease. And a triple net lease, which is more commonly used or referred to in retail type properties, is going to be the most costly type of lease form that you can sign. Now, you don't have a lot of choice when you decide to go and open up a retail store. If you want to benefit from the retail exposure and signage opportunities and foot traffic that are available to you and being in a retail center, then unfortunately you are going to be obligated to be on a triple net lease. Now, what the triple net means is that you're going to be responsible for your base rent, so whatever dollar amount the landlord is asking on a price per square foot. You're also going to be responsible for all of your utilities, so the cost of water, trash, gas, electricity, any other utility that's stubbed into the premises, you will have to pay for. And then you're going to have to pay what's called a triple net fee or CAM fee on top of the base rent and on top of all your utilities. And what that CAM fee is your proportionate share of costs that cover the landlord's property taxes, the landlord's property insurance, and the landlord's maintenance expenses. So whatever the landlord pays to operate the building, tax-wise, insurance-wise, and maintenance-wise, gets passed through to all the tenants on a CAM fee that is on a price per square foot basis. Now, people ask me sometimes, well, what's the common CAM fee? And unfortunately, there isn't one. Every property is subject to what their actual costs are. So if a landlord has owned a building for 30 years, their tax basis is going to be lower compared to someone else that may have bought the building 2 years ago. So you can't say that their CAM fee should be less or higher. It's going to be contingent upon what their actual expenses are. So, on average, you can go as low as 25 cents a square foot, or you can go as high as $1, and in some cases even higher than that if you've got a security guard or other types of costs that are affiliated with the building that get passed through to the tenants. So again, full service gross, you pay all those costs into just one fee on a monthly basis. On a triple net basis, the tenant is responsible for the base rent, their utility expense, and then also the taxes, their proportionate share of the taxes, insurance, and maintenance expense. Now, what's a modified gross lease? A modified gross lease is really something in between the full service gross lease and the triple net lease. It's modified. That means that you're not quite on either spectrum of the lease, you're somewhere in between. So sometimes the landlord might say, I'm going to charge you a base rent, and I'm going to charge you a utility expense. And so the utilities are separate from the base rent, but the landlord might say, I'm going to pay the property taxes and I'm going to pay the property insurance. So that would make it in the middle between the two other types of lease terms. The one thing to note on a modified gross lease, however, is that even if the landlord is not outright charging you the cost of the taxes and insurance and maintenance expenses, they can charge you increases in taxes and insurance and maintenance over a base year. So if you go into a retail or office space that's on a modified gross lease and you sign that lease as an example this year in 2025, in one full calendar year in 2026, the landlord can then look at what their actual cost of the taxes were, what the cost of the insurance was, what the cost of maintenance was from the previous year to the new year, and look for the increased dollar amount. And so as an example, if it goes up, those total expenses from 2025 to 2026, and that amount is $2,000, that $2,000 would then be billed back to all the tenants on their pro rata share of square footage. So the amount of space that you occupy within the entire building is what your pro rata share of square footage is. And then that percentage would apply to the total dollar amount that you would pay for the increased amount only. Now, there are some times where you could benefit in finding a retail space that might be on a modified gross basis versus a triple net. That is in your favor as a tenant, because that's saving you money where you're not paying the actual cost of the taxes, the actual cost of the maintenance and the insurance, but only on the increases from year one to year two. So now I think you should have a pretty good understanding as onto the differentials between a full service gross lease, a triple net lease, and a modified gross lease. If you have any further questions that we didn't cover in this video today, please go ahead and leave a comment and we'll respond to you accordingly. We are tenant rep brokers. If you need help looking for a space, we're here to help you and protect you and explain to you your rights as it relates to a lease. So call us today, and thanks so much for tuning in.